as you probably know, this is the most anticipated SUV or 4x4 of the entire 2020. This is the new Defender, and there's a lot of split opinions about it, but once you spend some time with it, especially after you drive it, your opinion will start diverting to one side. Most people are still of opinion that Land Rover drivers look like this, but in reality they actually look like this. And it's the first type that is all everyone's complaining, no, it doesn't look like a Defender, it doesn't drive like one, it's too much tech. All I can say is your phone keeps getting new tech, your computer keeps getting new tech. Why can't your car keep moving into the 21st century as well? The technology isn't there to take the driving experience away from you. It's to make it better and easier. Now there will always be the people that say, no, but I just want a basic car. Cool, you do that, you do you. The rest of us will be looking at this as a very compelling package. So if you're like me and you love tech, this this is the car for you. I've actually got 30 pieces of paper here with different features, specs, and we will be going through the highlights. But I should just point out that this has been shrunk down from 100 pages, which is just mental. But I think for now, let's start on the outside. Yes, it's a major step away from the old Defender. Land Rover was in a very tricky situation. They needed to incorporate the current design language, which is sleek, stylish, bulky, and not bulky like in fat, but it has road presence. If you look at a Range Rover or Range Rover Sport, it's quite big cars, but they still had to make it reminisce to the old Defender. When this car passes by you on the road, you don't necessarily immediately see the references to the old Defender, but once you've spent some time with it, like I have, you understand why certain things have been done and designed the way they have, bringing the perfect mix between old and new. Take these headlights for example. They wanted to incorporate the round headlight design of the old Defender while bringing in modern touches, including matrix LED headlights, which this vehicle is spec'd with, but making it suit the rest of the car. And with the square surround, I think it looks pretty cool. But what you have to give this car is uniqueness compared to other cars. It stands out, and believe me, it stands out. Driving this on the road, people love it. I'm actually surprised how much attention it draws. I found that everyone loves it, except people driving old Defenders. They just look away for some reason. And I'm struggling to understand why. To me, the most recognizable angle or view of this car is the side. With the windows at the top and the homages to the old Defender on the side. Yeah, if this box wasn't new, you would have been able to see it better. This is, like I said, the most at least for me, the most Defender part of this car. This one is spec'd with the optional Goodyear Wrangler Duratrax, the aggressive off-road tire. There's a less aggressive off-road tire as well, but they're more highway terrains, really. So if you're buying a Defender, get these tires. In the back, the tail lights also pay tribute to the old Defender, especially these two little lights on the side. The Defender is probably one of the most configurable vehicles in Land Rover's lineup. In fact, it is. And some of those options fitted to this car is the Explorer pack, which comes with the box on the side, mud flaps, and another optional extra which is very handy is a built-in air compressor. This vehicle is fitted with the third row jumper seats at the back. It also has Land Rover's air suspension access buttons in the rear. There's also an electronic deployable tow bar in the back, which with the press of a button in the back or through the infotainment system pops out, and there you go. But I think interior wise is where the Defender really comes into its own. This is probably one of the nicest interiors in the class, and this is like the mid-size SUV class. A lot of the buttons that you would usually find in other cars have moved to the center display. There's also a digital display for the instrument cluster. So on this side you've got your aircon controls, this side is your off-road controls, but the piece de resistance is this display. The resolution is crisp, it's better than my phone. So anything you could do here, you can do up here as well. So climate controls, there are all the seat options, front, second, third row. Let's go back. Towing and trailers, you can add a profile for a trailer. Cameras, this car has 360-degree cameras, and if only I could record using these cameras, I wouldn't need all the cameras I own. I would just be able to film my entire review from the built-in cameras. So 360-degree cameras. Off-road mode, for off-road camera modes, uses the same cameras but on different angles, so you get a view of the front wheels. Towing shows where the car is in relation to a trailer if you are busy building up to it, and then of course a camera. There's also a camera that can show you what's going on underneath the car, which is just trippy. It's a party piece to add to all the cameras, because that's something no other car does. Then you've got low traction launch, your eco data. I'll get back to the performance figures soon. 4x4, which gives you a roll meter, inclinometer, altitude, bearing, which diffs are locked or not. Wade sensing will measure the water you're going into using sonar to determine if, with the current suspension height that you are on, if you were able to go through it or not. There are the different terrain response modes that's activated through the 4x4 section of the buttons or through here, and it tells you exactly what each mode does. There is eco, comfort, grass, gravel, snow, mud ruts, sand, rock crawl, wade, and then configurable. Okay, so let's actually go into configurable terrain response and see what options it gives us. So differentials, automatic, lock center and rear, powertrain, relaxed, normal or responsive, steering, light, medium, heavy, traction control, less wheel spin, off-road, more wheel spin, and then just a reset button if you just want to set it back to what it was. Then you've got tow bar. You can deploy the tow bar from here. It can measure the load of the trailer on the tow ball to make sure that you're not overloaded. And it has a trailer bulb check mode, which once the trailer is plugged in, you don't need two people to stand behind there and communicate through shouting and yelling at each other. The car does it for you. Then you've got vehicle dimensions, which is also a very handy feature, especially because this has such a big difference between its lowest and its highest air suspension mode. Then you've got your voice control, which works very well. Your navigation, which I'm quite surprised has off-road tracks as well. I'm at Grabouw 4x4 and I can see all the trails here. You have your phone controls, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and your media. Display in the front of it, it just keeps going. The display in front of me can be set up in 2-dial mode, so you have your rev counter and your speedometer. Single dial mode, rev counter in the middle, speedometer in the center of that. Trip, fuel, and 4x4 information on the left, GPS on the right. Then you can also get full GPS mode, full 4x4, and full trip mode, and full media. The buttons are physical buttons. They're not like other Range Rovers which have become capacitive touch screens. These are physical buttons, and as you press a button, they change the mode depending on what screen you're in. Cooler here, which actually keeps very cool. USB-C, USB-A, 12-watt socket. There's a USB port up here. Cup holders, or you can just pop this little thing if you don't want this and you want a cup holder. They've ditched the rotary gear lever in favor of a more traditional gear lever, just to make it a bit easier and faster. Land Rover pulled something off quite impressive with this car, and often I found that manufacturers, they favor one type of material for an interior. It's either luxurious or durable. Land Rover's pulled off both. This is a nice rubber material. I'm sure that's going to last very long. They say everything's been tested up to a wear lifetime of about 30 years, which, credit to them, that's pretty damn impressive. I love this Defender powder coated bar that goes through the interior, it goes all the way through, flows into these sturdy grab handles. Up here you've got a mirror, doesn't sound like much, except you can flick it and then it becomes a camera. Now having such a well-spec'd interior is great, but at the end of the day this car was designed to do one job, and that's going off-road. Under the bonnet we've got a 2-litre diesel, 177 kilowatt, 500 newton meters, mated to a 8-speed ZF gearbox, which, it's not just my opinion, is the best automatic you can get in the industry. There's a twin-speed transfer box as well, and as I mentioned, this one is fitted with the proper off-road tires. They are optional extras, but it's not that expensive and they make a big difference. But I think it's time to do what you all have been waiting for and enduring my small talk for. It's time to take this off-road. I'm at Grabouw. It has a healthy mix of loose rocks, bit of sand here and there, and it will definitely give this car a proper test. One thing I love, no range engages and disengages very quickly. So obviously the Defender is quite a big name to live up to in terms of off-road ability. The aim of today is, I guess, to see if it lives up to that name. If the technology was available back when the original Defender was built, they would have put it in. You have to keep up with the times, but Land Rover doesn't also just want to keep up with the times. They want to set the benchmark, and that is where the Defender comes in. The new Defender isn't a car for following trends, it's a car for setting trends. And that's where the design as a whole comes in. It's still recognizably a Land Rover, more so also a Defender, but it is a new car. It's not supposed to just be a replacement for the old Defender. They wanted, when people start talking about a Defender, this is the car they start talking about. So at the moment I'm driving in just normal comfort mode, raised suspension. There are a few little gullies here and there that I've encountered. Coming back to the engine, on-road performance is pretty good considering that it's only a 2-litre diesel. It pulls very well, especially in the mid-range, and in the mid-range I mean that's in terms of speed. Your 50 to 130, it pulls very well considering that it's such a powerful motor for the size that it is. Fuel economy, on the way here, on the flatter sections of the highway, I got it down to 9 litres on 100. Going over Solaris Pass and then into the more hilly sections, it went up to about 10.5, which I still think is pretty good considering how big this car is. As for the comfort off-road, so the one caveat of air suspension is that when you raise it up, it does become a bit firmer. It's noticeable, but it hasn't made it uncomfortable. It's still very supple. I'm not getting absolutely thrown around. But if you just drive it in normal height, it is sublime. But that's the advantage of air suspension, is that it is super comfortable, especially on the highway. I mean, you barely feel anything. But it also performs very well off-road. Okay, so finally a bit of proper off-roading. Section I got to now is downhill. I'm going to be doing it the other way as well. And it's quite a nice little rutted section, a lot of big loose rocks. What I'm going to be doing though is using the technology available and put off-road camera on, find the one that shows the front wheels on either side, so that even if I can't see what's going on with the wheels, the cameras can, and I can pick the perfect line. Hi. And that's what I love about this car. It's just, you still get the thrill of all the proper off-roading. It's just been made a lot easier, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Why can't things be made easier? So going up, I am going to use low range, rock crawl mode probably. Yeah, let's give it a shot. There you go. So what I'm going to do now to prove my faith in the abilities of this car off-road is I'm going to do a section of Grabouw that I've always been a bit nervous of, purely because I've never had the faith in the vehicles that I was testing. It was mostly because they were Buckies and Fortuners with not proper off-road tires on. This does, so let's give it a shot and see what happens. So what I'm not going to do is absolutely murder the car. I'm going to let the car do the work, and by that way we can see how the diff reacts, how the traction control system reacts to wheel spin. That's the whole point of the technology, is just enhancing the driving experience, just making what you're doing more accomplishable without having to damage your car. Because otherwise you have to use momentum, but momentum is usually also what breaks cars if it's not done right. So that was the first section. It wasn't bad, very loose. I need to get a second person to help me with these videos. Just got a nice little bit of lift there on the rear wheels. So overall, this vehicle off-road is as to be expected from a modern Land Rover, especially one that carries the Defender name. It is extremely capable. I mentioned the technology helps you, but it's still, you are still in control. The car's not driving itself. A lot of people make it sound like, oh, it's got all this technology, it drives itself. That's not true. You still, as the driver, need to know what you're doing. So far, everything that I've thrown at it, it's handled very well. I mean, I'm not even braking now. It's just in low range cars, just managing the speed itself. But I mean, most 4x4s do that in low range anyway, so it's not just the Defender. Like I said, I've attempted a piece of this trail that I've done a few times, but I haven't done this section yet. I was always too afraid to do, well, not afraid, but didn't have the confidence in the cars, and it's mostly tires. I will admit it helps that this car does have extremely aggressive tires on. The new Defender inspires confidence. As a driver, that's what you want your car to do. A good 4x4 is like a safety blanket, and that's what the Defender does. It inspires confidence. It gives you that assurance that the car can handle 99.9% of what you're going to throw at it, and it teaches you to become a braver driver and not a stupid driver. Brave and stupid often are mistaken for being the same thing, but it helps you explore more, create more memories with your family, because there's a new section of the mountain that you can get to that you couldn't in the past. So, conclusion time. After a short period off-road and on-road, my time on the car is coming to an end. It brings me to an interesting thought. I'm always excited to drive a new car when it comes to the office when we get it in for test. But I very, very rarely miss a car when I have to give it back. Land Rover, I'm sorry, you're not getting your car back. I'm keeping this. I'll trade in my Polo. There's my deposit. As a package, everything combined, the looks, the interior, the off-road ability, it's a very, very tempting package. You might have noticed there's one thing I left out through the video, and that's the price. Now, this one has the Explorer pack and a few optional extras like the air compressor, the upgraded sound system, which aren't really necessary, they're nice to have. I think it worked out to 70,000 Rand in total. If you take those off, or don't spec them, even with the off-road tires, this is only about 50,000 Rand more than a top-of-range Prado. You can go through that whole debate of which one you'd rather take into Africa. I'd be pretty happy taking this into Africa. If Kingsley Holgate can do it, I can do it too. It's, in my opinion, more futuristic in terms of design. The interior isn't even on the same level. The engine, smaller but produces more power, and it's a better gearbox. So what more could you want? So from the SF4x4 team, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please drop a like, comment down below. There is a 3-litre hybrid in their fleet, so if you'd like to see the 3-litre hybrid, drop a comment, say we would like to see the 3-litre hybrid, then we can take that to Land Rover, and it gives us hard evidence and say that the audience wants to see the 3-litre, can we get the 3-litre in for a test as well? And then that we can take somewhere else, take it to Sand, Atlantis, wherever. Mud even, depending on the time of the year. Remember to subscribe to our newsletter to receive all the latest news and gear items that we have on our website. Follow all our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and remember to download our free app. It's an alternative to the newsletter. You get both. It helps us a lot. It's completely free and it's available through the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. So once again, thank you for watching and we hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about the car or even the trail, if you want to come here yourself, if you want to join me on the next one, just drop a comment and tag along. Just make a nice big group and let's share the experiences that we all enjoy so much about our beautiful country. And I'll see you in the next one.